You know, it's a very simple thing, I think. When I first read the script, I just thought it was a very succinct story about humanity, really, and about what the very worst and the very best of that, and really what we're capable of. Deep hatred and revenge and vengeance, and in the same person, capable of love, forgiveness. And those contrasts I thought were not only great themes for a film, but also indicative of the power of the story. So that I was always very aware of the story being about Eric and Patty, but about universal things that so that not only would it play in all sorts of around the world, but also that it would resonate with audiences. That wasn't just about a story about the Burma Railway. And to me, that's an important part, but it's sort of almost a bigger story than that. So it was just about the human story, really, that I thought was very profound and very interesting. And then when we had the opportunity to meet and work with the real Patty Lomax and the real Eric Lomax, it was an amazing experience to work with them and to talk to them, and they were very open and very forthcoming in their help and always available to us to ask, and very forthright and candid in their answers, and it was a great experience to work with them.
Well, Eric has passed away, but Patty, I believe was she at the Toronto Film Festival with you guys for its world premiere?
She was at Toronto and
here in Brisbane.
In Brisbane and San Sebastian and Zurich. So she's been sort of to a lot of places, and I think she's a master of the press now.
What's it like for her travelling around and screening this film that really honours her late husband, but she's a feature character in this film as well? And what does she think of the whole thing?
Well, she tends to bat any sort of spotlight on herself back to Eric, but I think she actually really enjoyed the attention. She enjoyed talking about the film. I mean, one of the things Patty always was always very important to her was not just about the men who came back from the war or wars in general, but about what them coming home did to the loved ones and those who were left to care for them, and how difficult that was and how often they are forgotten about. And that was always a really big part of her agenda in a way. But I think she, it's a very bittersweet thing for her to watch the film, of which I know she's very happy with, but it's a constant reminder that Eric's not here anymore, not with her.
I did a bit of reading after I saw this film a couple of months ago, because it was a story I'd never heard about before, and I was reading as well. It's kept very quiet, as I guess you might expect in Japan. And in the film, you've got a lot of Japanese extras and Japanese actors as well. So what was it like for them being involved in a film like this? And do you know how the film's been received in Japan? Has anyone seen it there?
Well, I'll answer the first bit and let Chris answer the second, because we screened the film at the Tokyo Film Festival. But the first part is that what we found to a man was that, particularly starting with Hiroyuki Sanada, who plays the older Nagase, how important it was to the whole Japanese cast to do this film and to do it authentically and to do it without, in a sense, pulling any punches, because for their generations, and we're probably talking about two very distinct generations, Hiroyuki's in his 50s, but it was very important to them that Japan start to recognise and confront, parts of their history like this that had been completely, in Japan, it's as if it never happened, and that was very important to them. It was important to get, we hear a lot of the Japanese dialogue, and one of the Japanese actors spent a lot of time with us on his own time, just making sure that everything that was said in Japanese made sense in terms of the film, made sense in terms of the reality and the authenticity of the whole thing. And but their real driving force, I mean, it was quite amazing. It was a little window into Japanese sort of mentality in a way, when we, particularly when we were shooting some of those, the guards all coming together to search the camp, and they would the whole cast would get together in almost like a huddle and do something that resembled a Japanese haka, and psych themselves up, and then it was like an incredible sort of, and then they would all take up their positions and away we go, and it was like a brotherhood, and they were on a mission in a way, and part of it was to make sure that their part of it was as true as what we've been trying to do with Eric's part. I think there's a great feeling amongst Japanese actors because they only ever get to play, particularly in Western films, these kind of roles, that they're so often, sort of turned into one-dimensional baddies, or and that they wanted to be able to, do it in a relatively authentic way.
I guess maybe Chris should just talk about the Tokyo Film Festival.
Well, I worked very closely with our Japanese distributor right from the get-go. So we pre-sold the film to Kurokawa very, very early on, before we started shooting. And so I talked to them a lot because it just so happened that somebody I made a film with was one of the senior acquisitions guys at this company now. So I actually had the ability to be able to ask them about certain things in the script and things like that. So right from the beginning, we had a kind of an involvement from the Japanese in terms of what would work for Japan, because it was always right from the beginning. Johnathan said it was really, really important. It wasn't just authentic from the Western side, but also from the Japanese side. So when we started talking about casting, for instance, we went to Kurokawa, or rather went to Kurokawa and said, does this person, who is the person who will be most acceptable to the Japanese in terms of, he'll have the authority, he'll be believable, he's somebody who is, a high-profile actor like a George Clooney type, somebody who's got, he's really top-notch Japanese actor who's a great artist, etc., etc. So as to actually sell that into the Japanese territory. So right from the beginning, it was terribly important for us to make this film as believable for both sides, as much as it was from our side. So when we actually delivered the film, the Japanese distributor was very, very pleased because it was very authentic. And they were extremely supportive because, there's a lot of very young guys who were working in the acquisition side, and they very much wanted to see this story told. They were very nervous about it, very, very nervous, but they very much wanted it to get out there. When we screened it at the Tokyo Film Festival, the response was really strong. It was very interesting, actually, because the Japanese are not that forthcoming, as most people would know. So when we had the Q&A, it was kind of, okay, we only had 15 minutes. And then we said to the audience, if anybody would like to ask us more about the film, we're more than happy to talk to you, and we'll be out on the terrace afterwards. Well, there was a queue about 200 yards long of people wanting to talk to Johnathan and to Andy Patterson and myself about the movie. All of them were young Japanese people who really, if some of them most of them actually had no idea that this had ever happened. So it was really enheartening. It was really reassuring, and it was, in terms of the Japanese, being able to get Japanese audience in to see the film, it was really, it was a great experience, it really was. And not only that, our distributor was very pleased and has decided to actually release the film on more screens. Because, as I said, they were very keen for us to actually spread the word. So it was a very good experience.
Talking about the shooting of the film, I remember, and some people here will probably remember as well, 12 months ago roughly, you guys were here in Queensland shooting scenes for the film, and it was big news because Colin Firth was here in Queensland, and it was certainly very exciting. I was trying to get an interview with him at the time, thinking this is amazing, we've got this Academy Award-winning actor here. But which scenes of the film are shot here in Queensland, and where did you shoot?
We shot, the prisoner of war camp shot in the Numbinbar Valley. And all the interrogation scenes are shot at the studios where we built, replicated those sets. And the other thing was that we shot the exterior of the secret police headquarters, where the cages are. That was all shot at Ipswich, on the on the you know, the lot of
The railway
museum.
Yeah, the railway yards.
Yeah. We would have. I mean, I think we would have shot. We looked at shooting some of the railway stuff as well in Ipswich, but there was a lot. There's a big issue with a lot of their infrastructure making safe and insurance, and in the end we shot a lot of that in Thailand.